Well, 10 Israeli hostages have been handed over to the International Red Cross from Hamas. They joined 2 Russian Israeli hostages who were released earlier. The news comes after reports that a 10-month-old baby, the youngest hostage held in Gaza, has been killed alongside his mother and brother.
The ceasefire clock is ticking down and everyone in Gaza knows it. In the calm, people have been flooding to hospitals, looking for treatment and almost overwhelming doctors. There is a real fear of a major spread of disease amongst the civilians, who are largely homeless and barely finding enough food to survive. Aid deliveries have continued both to the south and north of the Strip, and the quantity of it has increased, but agencies say it's still hopelessly inadequate, and so do the people who are waiting for help.
This is the 3rd day in a row standing here to get flour because we frankly don't have any. For a week or so, our children were having 1 meal a day, barely enough to keep them alive because Gaza has nothing to eat except some vegetables.
People are increasingly desperate, and they know that when the war resumes, life will get even worse. Hundreds of thousands have moved south, but they face the very real prospect of having to move again. Certainly, Israel's Prime Minister seems determined to continue the war, whatever happens to the hostages.
In the last few days, I hear a question. If, after this phase of returning our abductees is exhausted, will Israel return to fighting? So my answer is an unequivocal yes. There is no chance that we won't resume the fighting until the end.
Of course, the ceasefire has been entirely dependent on the release of hostages from Gaza and Palestinian prisoners from Israeli jails. This complex process has been remarkably successful, with negotiators staying in continuous touch with Israel and Hamas. Further extensions to the ceasefire are being discussed, but it is far from a done deal. The fate of the Bibas family, and in particular 10-month-old Kafir and his 4-year-old brother Ariel, has captured the attention of Israelis since their abduction. Now, though, the military wing of Hamas claims the boys and their mother Shiri were killed in an Israeli airstrike. It hasn't been verified, but the Israeli military says they're investigating the reports. It's another episode in a sequence of events that's traumatizing this country. Well, there's a place setting for every one of the hostages. If you can't see a human image on the back of the chair, it means they've come home. They're either in hospital or back with their families. But there are still many hostages left in Gaza. Nobody knows when this whole hostage saga is going to end. Israeli security forces have continued their raids in the West Bank. CCTV shows youths in a street moments before one of them was shot. The Ramallah Health Ministry says 2 children were killed in the raids. Since the October 7th Hamas attack, movement on the streets of the West Bank has been heavily restricted. It's tense here, tense in Gaza, and nobody knows what will happen next.